Worked out really good. Okay, so same thing. I'll start with the white and get rid of my tag end. Usually, for when I'm getting ready to go on a steelhead trip, I start well in advance. I am not a very fast tyer. I really like to take my time and do a proper job, or at least as best I can. So I as a general rule, I don't rush. I really don't. I like taking my time. So use the patented thumbnail again and cut that off, flip it over. All right, so we'll try this one again. So there's one around the metal. Two, three, and one more. Come back. I use a fair bit of tension. You'll see that that hook is going to be flexing when I pull on it. That Norvise that I mentioned that I tied on commercially, that thing you end up tying to a board. And so, I mean, if with gel spun thread, I've bent hooks pulling on them before. Not that I recommend it, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover up all that core, and I'm building a little bit of a platform here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my favorite color, which is chartreuse. This is the mini flat braid, and I'll cut myself off a section of this, and once again I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to tie this in along the bottom, and I'll just trap it, and then I'll give it a bit of a pull to right about there. I'll get the thread out of the way. I'll right the ship here, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down and back. There's a number of reasons why I do this. The most important thing here that I almost blew was if I use black thread, how good is this chartreuse going to look? It's going to be pretty shitty. I've always been a fan of having contrasting colors in my flies, dark and light shades. I really like this pattern because it's black and white with a few other hot spots in it, so to speak. Oh, did I just move that? We still good?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've built up the butt of the fly, and I'm gonna tie this guy off right there.
The white thread will reflect the color more than the black will just absorb it.
Yeah. Where is the torch? So not only is the mini flat braid a fluorescent color, but our thread is also fluorescent white. So that's something that not a lot of other companies do, but we do. I'm a huge fan of the fluorescents and the UVs. In the beginning, when that first started to hit the market, I didn't really pay that much attention to it because I thought it was it's there to catch more fishermen than fish. And I quickly realized that no, it works extremely well. That is way too long. I'm going to put in a tail here, and this is Amherst, and that's probably the perfect one right there. I like to do a lot of prep work. So last spring, I sat at home for a while, and over the course of about 3 weeks, roughly, I prepped about 220 golden pheasant heads. All the tippets out. They were washed. They were organized. It took forever. I really like using these baseball card holders. This one is for 25 cards. There's other ones that you can get that are bigger for 50. And I use them for different jobs. I like putting my tails and toppings in there because they tend to hold their shape. So this one, what I do is I like to get one that's nice and straight. And I really like this one because the green-butted skunk has always got a bit of red in it. And these tails, they're not blood red. They're not quite a claret. I really like them. The next thing that I'm going to do here is get out my wax. I am pretty fanatical when it comes to my wax. At home, I would say that I've got about 3 different pieces that I use fairly regularly, and they're all a little bit different. This one is a little bit on the softer side, and for the stuff that I do that's like this, I don't want it to be hard. I want it to be fairly tacky. So I'm going to measure this guy one more time before I slap him on. Typically, I like the end to be a little bit past the bend of the hook, but not way out here. Just somewhere kind of like right in there.
So Ben, did you cut the smaller fibers off or there, just using scissors on it?
I gave it a bit of a trim. If this is the rachis, so you've got the rachis and you've got the barbs coming off of each side. Mm-hmm. I cut them, but I leave the tag ends on. Otherwise, I would just strip it. And I find that when I do that, those little tags help to hold everything together and bind it. I like to make sure to look down the center that it's not veering one way or the other. These things can drive a man to drink, especially with golden pheasant. The Amherst ones I find are a little bit nicer to use. Now you see what's happening there? Who knows why that's happening? You see how the tail just went whoosh? What's going on is I need to build up a little bit more of a platform. The mini flap braid is raised up a fair bit, and I only had one turn of thread on here, so now I've gone down and back again. Oh, there we go.
As Marvin Nolte used to call it, erectile tail dysfunction.
I'm going to steal that. I really like that. 10 minutes.
Come to the fly fair and see it finished.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
After he's had a few drinks.
Okay. Oh, too much.
Is that a jeweler's loop? Magnifier?
I'm going to be able to fix that later with a with the pin. I'll give it a bend, and that'll straighten out.
So is this a double loop you're creating then?
Just about. I'm quickly going to throw a rib in. Now you got me thinking, hurry. This is a question I get asked a lot because people don't like to waste tinsel. And they're like, okay, so for the average fly, how much tinsel do you usually use? And I literally tell them this much. I hold it here with my thumb, and I measure, and I cut off right at the tip of my finger. And I don't mean it to be cheeky, although a number of people have laughed when I said that. It's just, I find that length works 99% of the time. Can you throw that in the trap there? Thank you. So this is a medium flat, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the very end, and I'm going to cut it on an angle. So I've got a bit of an arrow there. I'm not too sure if you can see that or not, but it's there. I'm going to roll this guy over. I'm going to tie him in. And because I'm doing a seal fur body, I don't necessarily have to worry about the bulk because it's all going to get buried. The other reason why I like using the cottarelli is because when I go to do dubbing loops, I've got the fly is much higher off the table, and I can, that wax,
Here.
oh, there we go, perfect.
Right.
I like being able to have a little bit of a larger dubbing loop. Makes things a little bit easier.
I have an extension piece for that
Ah, there you go, good man.
raises it up.
Seal fur, you guys already know the deal with this. I like my steelhead flies to be a little bit more on the bushy side. So I do a loop. I'm still fairly stingy and sparse with the dubbing. But I'll lay it in here. And I'll probably end up doing a second one, which is fine. So that's more or less right. I'll start to spin this up. This apparently, Tony has told me that dubbing spinners are not a big thing here for some reason.
No.
But we use them all the time. All the time. So I give this a really good spin. If you spin it too much, you're actually going to break the thread. But you can see that this dubbing noodle is quite sparse. I will pull out all the loose fibers and just get rid of them.
So why do it this way and not the way Pete showed us previously?
I get a buggier look. It has a larger profile. There are plenty of times I do both ways,
Right.
just on different patterns. On a classic fly, that especially if it has a butt, I will twist it much tighter for the first 3-4 turns, and then it will become bushier as we go. The other way that I actually combine these techniques, I will make the loop, I will twist it on one side, like the dubbing, and then I twist it together again, and that is tight as a drum. So once I'm happy with the way this looks, I'll take one turn to get it right to the back, and I will pull all that stuff back, and if I'm lucky, the tail didn't drop. And I'll do more or less edge-to-edge turns here. And with each turn, I pull everything back because on this pattern, I want it to stand out. This part can be a little time consuming, but I find that I'm much happier with the end result. And I don't really know if the fish care. I've seen more guys go back and forth about, umpteen ways of doing dubbing. And it seems like, honestly, there's always a place and a time to do everything. So we're just about there. Oh, I caught that one bloody strand. There we go. 2, 3, and then I'll quickly cut this off. I always push the thread out of the way. with that brass bobbin, when that thing drops, it makes a hell of a racket. Quickly going to cover a little bit more of the shank and come back. I'm going to do one small loop here. Once, twice around. Bring my thread back up. And I'm not going to bother with the wax. I'm just going to try to get this done before they kick us out of here. That's a bit much. I think that should do the trick. So I'll give this a spin. I really like the buggy look, and I've got a toothbrush in my kit where I'll actually pretty aggressively brush it out. And it looks like we're pretty close to being there. Just pull out the loose stuff, give it a few more twists, and around we go. It's always better to do a little bit bigger of a loop, and if you don't use it all, it's not really that big of a deal. And I'm going to go right to there and call it quits. I'm going to bring my thread back, go underneath and tie it off. 1, 2, 3 turns. Again, I push my thread out of the way, give that a snip, and I'll recycle all that stuff later. Now with the rib, you'll notice that this is a little bit of a shorter body, and I quite like that. I'm going to take my rib, again, always shooting for the 5 turns, and I will go back and forth a little tiny bit. On this one, because I usually start a little further back and I didn't this time, I'm just going to do 3 turns with this one. Space that out just a little tiny bit more, and then come here. And the way that I like to do this part is bring my thread back, tie it off on the underside. Typically, you only want to go with a flat tinsel back. If you go forward, you run the risk of cutting your thread. So I'll do 4 turns, and whoops. I'm going to hold that so it's a little bit more stable and just wiggle it until it breaks. Done. Next piece is we're going to do a hackle. So this is just black schlappen. I've already measured this one, and I'm going to start right about, right about there. And what I do with this one is I cut, same as the Amherst, I cut the, can you see that there?
Yeah.
What I'll do is, the other side accidentally got stripped, but I leave a few bits and pieces there. Typically, a very good habit to be in is to always tie them off at 3 o'clock. If you're looking this way, 12, 3, 6, and 9. That's something that I got from my friend Glenn once again. And I'll tie that in and run my thread forward. And now what I'll do is I'll come back, and these ones are fairly quick and dirty. I just fold it back with my scissors, make the first half turn, come back. I don't necessarily count the amount of turns. I just take a look at it and go, yeah, it needs one more. Brush everything back, make one more turn, and that's probably going to do it. And what I'll do is I'll strip off some of this, get it out of the way, just a little tiny bit more. And now I will bring it back, and now I tie it off on my side, the near side. So I'll bring the thread back, switch hands. There's the first turn. 1, 2, 3, 4. Get rid of this guy. And now I come back with my wax, and I'm gonna wax my thread on both sides. And now what I'm doing is I am creating a base of wax for the next step. And I'm gonna go edge to edge, just like that. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a piece of polar bear and a hair stacker. And with this one, it's really easy to overdo it. As you can see in the light, this stuff is, it's an amazing material. Super translucent. When you dye this stuff, the really bright colors, it shines like nothing else. That you cannot replace. Once I've got a clump of of polar bear, I switch hands and I hold onto the tips and I pull out and remove all that guard hair, the short and curlies, as we affectionately refer to it. That stuff just adds bulk where we don't want it, because now we're getting to the head of the fly. The ends are all unruly, so I take my hair stacker and I carefully get all the tips in there, and I don't want to bang it on the table. So I give that a bunch of wax and pull that out. And for whatever reason, it doesn't always work out the way that I want it to. So I don't like the way that that one looks, so I'll get rid of it. And I'll just take a minute here to do a little bit of pruning and lining up the edges. If there's ever any like this that just have got a bend in them, I just get rid of them. Don't need them. So, a nice sparse wing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to measure it, and typically, if this tail was cooperating right from the get-go and it was laying down, I'd want it to be about yay long. I don't like having them a ridiculous length. It doesn't look good to me at all whatsoever. So I'm going to go right about there, and I've found the best way of doing this is I've measured it 2 or 3 times to make sure I got the length that I like. I transfer to the hand, and then I get all of it in one foul swoop. This stuff can be a little harsh on the scissors, like deer hair. So I have one pair of extremely sharp scissors that I use for specific jobs, this being one of them. So with fairly heavily waxed thread, I do one turn with that weighted spool. I am now pulling the wing back so that I hopefully don't have to trim it. Second loose turn, and a third. If there's anything that just sticks out and looks weird, I just give it a yank and get rid of it. I will go down the center because it's not sitting where I want it, and I will give this a bit of a massage and a twist to get it where I do want it, right on top of the shank. And where did, oh here. This guy, I don't like there. So I did a decent job with that one, but there are a few stragglers here. And this, right now, is the time to deal with the mess. So I'm going to take a second or two. I am a huge fan of spring scissors for this reason. They've got the flattest, narrowest tips, and I can reach in here and get rid of everything that doesn't belong. Because I do like to have a fairly neat head. We're almost there, Tony. Now what I'm going to do is I'm really quickly going to switch to my black thread. I'll let that hang for a second. I get rid of that one. I now get rid of the white one, and typically what I do is I just push the scissors through as opposed to actually cutting. Everything looks better with jungle cock. I've had numerous conversations with a ton of different people about that, and it really is a class act to add to a fly. And this one here is generally a little bit, well, they're very consistent, but they're all smaller sizes. Some of these you can get that are all over the map. You've got super huge ones at the top, really, really small ones at the bottom. You generally want to pick one from each side. So I've already got one from this side. Now I'm going to go over to this side, and I always put them side by side to make sure that they're a good match before I pull them out. So there's my two. I've got my nails. These ones, I will strip off the majority of the junk on the bottom. And when I get it to this point, I'm going to hold it in one hand and I'm going to brush everything down like this. So I'm just at this point here, right at the very bottom of that white triangle. Then I'm going to go in with my scissors, just like I did with the other materials, and I'm going to cut all that stuff off. Is that too close? Is that in focus?
Yeah, come back a bit. Yep.
So you can see there I've left some stragglers on there, some tag ends. Strip off the bottom, pull this back, and give it a trim. There's a number of different ways that I've seen guys do this next part. I'm still a fan of waxing my thread, and because I just put this black on, it doesn't have any on, so I will do that quickly. And then what I typically do is each one has got a bend to it. I want that bend or the curve to go this way. And typically what I do is I sort out which one goes where. I hold them in one hand like this. I set them over top. Just as long as they're in the ballpark of where they're supposed to be, it's fine. I'll do 2 turns and I just let everything hang. Then what I do is I come over here, I will go to the top, and I will start to massage these to exactly where I want them. And it's pretty important that they match. I'm fairly anal about that. And when I think I'm close, I'll give it 2 more wraps with a little bit of tension. I'll give it 1 more look. This one needs just a little bit of a yank down, and I'm pretty happy with that. We'll call it a day. I love wax, but this is the one part where you kind of need to be a little bit careful with how you use it. I used to always fold these back and tie it down, but I don't do it anymore because I don't like the large head that I get. So now what I do is I tie them in just the one way, and I will go in and I will cut the sides off. And now hopefully I don't have a ton of wax still on that thread, and I will generally do 1 pass. I don't know if you can read that on the camera, but the waxed thread looks a lot, the sheen disappears, and I want the head to be shiny. So I'll do generally 1 pass to make sure that it's covered. I'll take the thread forward, and with my whip finisher, I do 3 and 3. So I start right at the front, get myself a bit more room, 1, 2, and 3. Give it a little bit of a tug and a push. And then I now move back. Right about one, 2, 3. And then I let that go. Come in with my scissors, push the scissors through. That is the green-butted skunk. The only thing that I'm going to tweak here now is I'm going to grab this tail, and with my bodkin, I'm going to try and keep it like that so you can see it, Tony. I'm just going to come underneath here and break the back a little bit. And I'll do a little bit at a time with a bit of tension, because it's really easy for you guys that have done this with tails and toppings. It can go sideways in a big hurry. Or you just yank the damn thing out. So there's a green-butted skunk.